Hello lovely people, how are you all doing today? I hope you are well. I am the same as I was in the previous video because it's the same day for me. Getting getting there, but yeah, slowly, steadily. So today I'm going to carry on with the subject of decluttering. I'm going to give you an example of a room and how I would tackle it, and then to talk about once the big declutter has been done, the big whole house sort out, how I would go about going forward and maintaining it so we never get into such a messy position ever again. And I just want to say as well, I do feel qualified to talk about this because I've actually done this in 3 houses for other people. I loved it. I loved it. I'm such a good clutter buster and organiser. If there was any way that I could be on my feet for 8 hours a day still, I would love to do this as a job. There's no way I can be on my feet for 8 hours a day then. Hence I left nursing. Right, let's crack on. So I thought as an example, I will talk about the kitchen. Because in that last video I was saying one of your goals might be to be sort of clutter-free surfaces. A, because it would just be more aesthetically pleasing when you're in the kitchen, but B, it would just make life smoother. Everything just becomes a bit quicker when you can just get on and do things rather than have to shift stuff. And anyway, I won't go over that ground again because we talked about that in the previous video. So I thought, yes, let's start with the kitchen because I think that's a room where we can quite quickly get some good results, and that might be if you've been struggling for motivation to get on with your declutter. I think the kitchen can be a good start, good results, visible pretty much straight away, and generally not too much sentimental stuff in the kitchen. And look, more than anything with these videos, if nothing else, I really hope that they kind of make you sort of go, yeah, come on, I'm going to do this. If it's been something that's been hanging over you for ages, now you might feel a bit motivated. Yes, that's what we want, motivation. Especially, excuse me, because I know that, you know, folk in America, you've got a big holiday season coming up, haven't you? And a lot of people will do stuff over the Christmas period in terms of having family and friends around. You might be thinking, oh, I need to get the house looking straight, either for visitors who are just coming for a couple of hours. You might even have people who are coming and they're going to be staying with you for a few days. So yeah, come on, let's start. Okay, so in the kitchen, if possible, and some of you might go, oh God, there's no way that's going to happen. If possible, I suggest you empty the entire kitchen into another room. I know, bear with me. I think it's possible to do this. I think if you blitz it over a weekend, really go at it, you can do this in a weekend. You might even be able to do it in a day, especially if you've got a bit of help. You are going to need space in order to see your space to get organised. So yeah, if possible. If it was me in this flat, it might be a case of the kitchen is going to come into the living room. You might even want to put newspaper down all over the floor, just so you can get everything out, get it all on the floor, spread out so you can see what's what. When it's out of the way, you can then, first job, get back in the kitchen and clean it. Get it all scrubbed out, sparkling, fresh, new. Once it's immaculately clean, I think you're going to be a bit more careful and not want to mess it up. Once it's so beautiful, you don't want to mess it up. So yeah, give it a good clean out. And that's what I mean, that if there's 2 of you, great, you can divide and conquer. One of you stay in the kitchen to do the big scrub out, and the other start, in my case, it will be in the living room with the sort. So we're going to have our boxes, bin bags, whatever, ready. We're going to have our chuck, as in it really is landfill. There's nothing for it but to throw it away. A box for donation and a box for the electrical recycling stuff. Hopefully you've done your research to find out where you can recycle electrics. And you might have a maybe box. You might. Better, though, to just have your chuck, donate, recycle bags and piles. And then I think it's kind of obvious and straightforward that start in categories. So the first one to start with might be the food. Go through all the food, and anything that's well past its expiry, oh sorry, excuse me, I'm wriggling. Anything that's well past expiry, you chuck it. Then grab a marker pen as well. Everything that's going to go back into your cupboards, write on it where you can really, I haven't got one as an example, but I've been doing this for myself now. Write on in big letters the month and year of expiry. So it might say 05/25. So that when things do go back into the cupboards, you can put the shortest date at the front. It's stock rotation, you know, shops do it, let's do it at home. The shortest date is at the front, so we're always using the oldest thing first, rather than leave it lingering at the back of the cupboard to then be discovered in 2 years' time. Chuck it. Get all your food bits labelled, and then categorise them a little further so that when they go back into the cupboards, you have your shelf that's all to do with breakfast. For example, if you're a breakfast eater, or your cereals, you might have a shelf that's all your tinned things, so your soups, pulses, tins of tomatoes. But as they're going back in, group them together. I mean, it's all obvious really, isn't it? It makes sense that you've got all your tins of tomatoes here, tins of soup, tins of pulses. Again, so you can always see what you've got and know what you need to be using up. I'm trying to think of other food things. I don't have much of a food cupboard, so I suddenly can't think what goes in a food cupboard. Your condiments, spices go off quite quickly, so it's quite possible that you're going to have a whole tranche of spices to throw away. But yeah, get on with the food bits first. Chuck, date labels. Once your cupboards are all nice and clean, pop them back. And you might want them to go into the cupboards that they came out of, just because ergonomically you're used to grabbing them from those particular cupboards. Frequent use stuff in the kitchen should be at anywhere between eye level and sort of knee level, not below knees and not above your eyes. That's where you want your everyday items to be. Anyway, so you've sorted through the food, chucked out any that are long since expired, labelled everything with the date so you know what to be using. Tupperware, my goodness, we all have Tupperware, don't we, coming out of our ears. If it's lost its bottom or lost its lid, chuck it, recycle it. Check on the actual plastic that it can be recycled. If there's not a recycle mark, unfortunately it's going to have to go to landfill. But when you've got all this stuff spread out, the first thing to do actually is to do the chucking. So with the Tupperware, chuck it. Crockery, chipped and broken crockery. What's the point? What are you keeping it for? Now, there's not much you can do about it, and you can't recycle it, unfortunately. You might, though, if you've got quite a lot in a box, you might want to put a note on your local Facebook group to say, I've got all this chipped and broken crockery. Would anyone like it for a craft project? Because there might be within your area a mosaicist, someone who makes mosaics. They might love to have it. But if you don't get any takers in a week or so, don't hang around, chuck it. With the crockery, gather all your crockery together. And this goes back to what I was saying in the previous video, that you're in control of this. You have to be in control of this and of yourself. So you have to be realistic and honest. I could come in and do it for you and make all your decisions, go, nope, don't need it, don't need it, don't need it, get it done. I'm not there, you're there. What I mean about being honest and being realistic is that thing of how many mugs do you really need? If you've gathered everything together and you suddenly realise, I've got 48 mugs and there are only 2 of you living in the house, How many times do you have 46 guests arriving all in one go? You don't need 48 mugs. That's what I mean about being realistic. And keep that thing in mind of, I could donate this and someone can make use of it. So if you've got all your items gathered together, it's much easier to see what a problem you've created over the years. I'm teasing gently, but yeah, if you've been ramming mugs in this cupboard, that cupboard, the other cupboard, if they're in 5 or 6 different cupboards, or even you might even have some in the dining room, once you amass them all together, you can see, this is a bit ridiculous. I've got a bit of a mug problem. Get rid. Look, at the end of the day, you pull everything out the cupboards, you might have 48 mugs and you think, but I want 48 mugs. Fine, keep 48 mugs. Keep living in chaos. It's only you know what's right for you. But yeah, be honest and realistic. So go through all your crockery, duplicates, excess of anything, donate. Same with all your cutlery and your flatware. Then look at your, what do you call it? Utensils. I couldn't think of the word then. Utensils. So I've got my little pot of utensils by the cooker. I think I have 3 wooden spoons. You know the kind of pot I'm talking about. If you've got all your utensils laid out, ask yourself, how many wooden spoons do I need? If I've got 17 wooden spoons, I've probably got too many wooden spoons. So all this, it keeps coming back to the same thing. If you can gather everything together in one place, you can see where you've got duplicates, you can see where you've got excess, and it makes it much easier to say, right, I'm going to literally halve everything I've got here. So if I've got 10 wooden spoons, I'll halve it to 5. Gadgets. Now gadgets, oh my goodness, how many gadgets do you have in your kitchen? So we've got our big gadgets, our food processors, blenders, what have you. But then our sort of smaller, say, handheld gadgets. Do you have gadgets that you've forgotten about that do one very specific job and no other job? I'm trying to think, like say a garlic press. A garlic press is only good for pressing garlic. That's the only thing it does. Now, I'm not suggesting get rid of that, because if you're like me, you put garlic in almost everything. But if you find as you're going through things, you're finding items you've forgotten, that's a clue that you can let go of them. If you forgot you even had it, don't think twice, get rid. But yeah, if you're finding sort of, especially those little handheld gadgets, and you think, oh, it was a bit of a novelty gift one Christmas, but we've never used it. Get it gone, get it gone, get it gone. The bigger, and now obviously if it's not electronic in any way, that can go to a charity shop or a donation hub. If it's electrical in any way, that needs to go into your electrics recycling pile, because a lot of charity shops, a lot of donation hubs won't take electronics. Yours might, so check it out first. But then we come into the sort of the bigger gadgets, don't we, of food processors, blenders, coffee makers, air fryers, bread makers, The list is almost endless, isn't it? Coming back to the same thing of being honest with yourself. When was the last time you made bread in your bread maker? Now, one of the dangers of doing this declutter is you find things you've forgotten about and you suddenly go, oh, I'm going to get into bread making again, yay! And for about 2 weeks you'll make bread and then you'll stop again, and then that bread maker just becomes part of the clutter problem again. So try not to be tempted during the declutter process to suddenly think, I'm going to have this life where I get up at 5 in the morning and make fresh bread for the family every day. Woo! No, you're not. If you haven't been doing that, you're not going to do it. Like with the broken crockery, now I've just suggested about using it for mosaics. Don't be tempted to think, suddenly I'm going to become a mosaic artist. Yes, I'm going to keep all this crockery. I'm going to make mosaics. And 3 years later, it's still in your loft. Don't be getting ideas. Yes, and so it goes on through all the kitchen stuff, your bakeware, your cookware, amassing it, thinking, I really don't need, 17 roasting tins. This is crazy. Giving them away. Have I gone through all the bits of the kitchen stuff? Other things to think about, plastic bags. Does anyone have plastic bags anymore? If you've got plastic, I bet someone out there's got a drawer in the kitchen and it's just full of plastic bags. And when you open it, now hopefully you've converted to reusable bags, cotton bags, that sort of thing. And you'll never go in that plastic bag drawer anymore. Get them out, and next time you go to the supermarket, you might need to check first. Mine around here don't, because they're too small. But a larger one will take them. Take all those plastic bags and get them into that recycling facility at the supermarket. And then you've got a nice clear drawer where you can have neatly folded your cotton shopping bags. No need for any of us to be having plastic bags in our houses now. Actually, just to say as well, when you're going through the food items, I just made a note of this last night. I was thinking about it. Never mind the expired stuff. All the rubbish is gone, but you're left with now good usable stuff. If having got it all together in one place, you suddenly think, wow, I've got 45 tins of tomatoes, and some of them are going to be expiring in 3 or 4 months. There's no way I'm going to get through all of this in the next 3 or 4 months. Take a load to your food bank. Go and donate it. Now, please don't donate to food banks stuff that's only maybe got a couple of weeks or a month, because that's not nice. It's not nice to, for someone to turn up to a food bank and think, oh, thank goodness I'm going to get this food, and then go, oh, it's out of date, or it's, in a week's time it's going to be out of date. But if there's quite a chunk of date on it, but you think I'm really, really overstocked, then yes, let's make donations to our local food banks. Novelty gadgets. So that's I was referring. The garlic press isn't such a thing, but I think like any item in the house, I think if whether it's clothing, whatever it is, if you haven't used it within 6 months, you're probably not going to, or maybe even a year, because some things are a bit seasonal, aren't they? Like big roasting pans, you might only use at Christmas. But if it's something you haven't used in 6 to 12 months, get rid of it. You're probably not going to use it. Just keep saying to yourself, do I really need this many of X item? Could someone be really grateful to receive this item? Junk drawer, the junk drawer. We all have a junk drawer, don't we? If you're finding chargers and cables and you don't even know what they're for anymore, you might, until you've done the whole house, you might want to get a box together that's cable. You might want to label it unknown cables and chargers, put them in there for now, so that once you've done a sweep of the whole house and you've got all the old phones out of drawers in the living room or the bedside table, whatever it is, once they're all together, you can see what goes together, match them up to then donate them for, either recycling or refurbishing. You know what I'm trying to say, but don't be tempted to put unknown cables back into your junk drawer. I'm going to come on to organising to go forward. And then finally, I think just that note about when things are high up or low down in terms of daily use, there are going to be things which, this is for every room of the house, but specifically with the kitchen, there are going to be some things which are not in daily use. They're not even in weekly, possibly not even in monthly use. So, for instance, you might really enjoy baking, but only bake around Christmas time. I've got plenty of friends like that. They love to get stuck in at Christmas, but the rest of the year they don't. So I would say, having gone through everything on the living room floor and decided I don't need quite so many tins, I don't need that, you know, you've pared it down a little bit. Then when it comes to putting it back into the kitchen, think about the very bottom shelf of your lower cabinets for storing them, so that, because all that bending, no, daily use stuff we want up here, tucking them away right at the bottom. Or you might have space above your cabinets that is quite useful for storage space, but get things put in boxes up there to keep them dust free, but make the boxes nice. Now I was just going to show you this little example. This is a favourite book of mine, French Country Chic. Yeah, beautiful book. This is a lovely idea. I've got a couple of pages marked at the moment because there's a specific blue colour that I want to use in something when I move into my next home. Now this is perhaps a bit decorative for the kitchen. This is more, say, bedroom or bathroom or even living room, but you see how the boxes have been covered with fabric and then even a little bit of lace around. They're probably old shoe boxes that have just been covered in fabric. Gorgeous, really pretty. Such a lovely book. So many gorgeous projects, and I won't go through it with you. So many lovely projects. But yeah, think about that space above the cabinets, but not like the whole, you don't want it piled right to the ceiling because that's going to look cluttered and horrible too. But maybe along a run of cabinets, 3 similar sized boxes, decorate them the same way, either just paint them the same colour as the walls so they blend in, or you might find 3 really lovely vintage wooden boxes, for example, so that when they're up there, they don't look like clutter, they actually look like a specific decorative thing you've chosen to do, but they're the things that you're keeping your Christmas baking kit in, or maybe your oversized roasting pans that you only use at Christmas or Thanksgiving if you're in the States. Up high, low down for your not used very often. But hopefully, like I said, over the course of a weekend, you might even be able to blitz it in a day with the kitchen. Getting everything out in one go so you can see just what you're dealing with. And I know it might sound like more faff to do that than to try and just do one. Look, you might just only be able to do one cupboard at a time, but it's like I was saying the other day with the clothes. If you only do one cupboard of clothes, you might think, oh, I've only got 3 t-shirts in here, or in the cupboard, I've only got 3 mugs, I can't get rid of any. And then if the next weekend you do another cupboard, you go, oh, I've only got 5 mugs in here, I can't get rid of any. Whereas if you've done it all together and you've seen those 48 mugs, then you can start to make those decisions about it's too many. And then when you do put everything back in, not everything, when you put back what you are keeping into your cupboards, you can hopefully have all the mugs on one shelf, all your glasses or your day-to-day glassware on one shelf. You might have, you know, really lovely wine or champagne glasses in another cupboard, if you're posh. You get the drift. Right, so, quick crack on. You've blitzed the kitchen, yay, and hopefully now you've got some nice clear surfaces, and when you go to get some Tupperware, have one shelf that's dedicated just to Tupperware. You might have one whole cupboard. I remember when my sister, when they redid their kitchen, it was a really ancient kitchen, and they finally put a new kitchen in, and she had a double cupboard that was all for sort of Tupperware and storage, and I was so jealous. It's like a dream, the dream Tupperware cupboard. How did I get onto my sister's Tupperware? Yeah, anyway, completely, sorry, I was back in my sister's kitchen for a minute then. Oh, lovely. Anyway, we've done the kitchen, as good as. I do think that would be achievable easily in a weekend, but maybe even, like I said, in a day. Be ruthless, be honest with yourself. Right, going forward, how do we maintain, let's say we've done the whole house. How do we maintain it? I think, look, I'm going to use some proper granny phrases now. I think we all know this, don't we? But until you've done the big clear out, be ruthless. It's really hard to actually put any of these into practice. You need to do the clear out first. So the first one is, we all know this, develop a place for everything in its place mindset. So when you're popping all your kitchen bits and pieces back into the kitchen, in your head, you don't need to label shelves. There's too much labelling goes on. There's a TV show where she labels everything. Socks, knickers. It's like, I know that's my socks. I know what socks look like. But as you're putting everything back into the kitchen, you know that this is now the mug shelf. This is now the day-to-day glassware shelf. This is the shelf for dinner plates and side plates. This is the shelf for bowls. If everything has got a place, a designated place, then after it's been used, whether it's in the kitchen, wash it up, it's got a place to go back to. Likewise, say my bureau, everything's got its specific place in here, whether it's staples, paper clips, pens, a roll of tape, a hole punch, it's all got its designated space and place, so that after I've been busy doing stuff, I know where everything goes, it's all gone back. A place for everything in its place. To have a place for everything, you need to have space. And the only way to have the space for a place is if you've decluttered and made the space. Also, another really obvious one, adopt a one in, one out mindset. So if you buy a new frock for the party season this Christmas, get rid of an old frock. Maintaining all of this, I think it's probably a good idea to have, say, once a year, springtime, whenever you want to do it. For me, my once a year is usually around New Year's Eve. I quite like doing it on New Year's Eve. Get a bottle of wine in, get some beers in, whatever, pop the music on. I have a once a year session and I pretty much go through the whole flat. Now, it doesn't take long because I've been doing it every year, so there's very little to do. But a once a year session of looking through every box, cupboard, under the bed, up here, down low, go through the whole flat and just have that ruthless attitude again of, do I really need to keep this? I've been hanging on to it for years. You know, the maybe pile. Get it gone. If you have a little once a year session, it might take you the whole weekend going room by room just to make sure, yeah, things still are in place. Or, oh, have I slipped a bit this year and suddenly I've got a floor drobe as well as a wardrobe? Why have I got all these clothes on the floor and on the chair by the bed? If I haven't got space in the wardrobe, is that because I haven't been doing one in, one out? So a little once a year touch up to keep yourself on track. Again, being honest with yourself. So if the wardrobe has gone chaotic, it's probably because you're buying stuff and not getting rid of stuff. So it's time to have a clothes clear out again. It doesn't have to be a major thing. And once, like I said, once it becomes habit, if you're doing it every year, it gets easier and quicker every year. In fact, I can probably do my whole flat in half an hour now. Well, apart from this one job that I've been putting off for ages, another video. Yeah, so whole home. Then I would say, I've made a note here, have a monthly session. And again, it doesn't have to be long. It could be half an hour or an hour. Have a monthly session for, yeah, I've identified 4 areas that I think are quite high traffic and prone to dumping and cluttering and junking up again. So a monthly session on your junk drawer, that drawer in the kitchen, remember, the one that we cleaned out and made all lovely and tidy again. once a month. And it might only be a 15-minute session, that's all it takes. It could be part of, you know, if you're cooking on a Sunday, if you're making your Sunday roast, say it's the last Sunday in the month and you're doing your Sunday roast, part of that routine is, I'm going to do the junk drawer, just get back on top of it. Likewise, for the kitchen, once a month, the pantry. Just make sure that stock rotation, you're staying on top of it. Everything at the front is the thing that you need to use first. But also, if you do a monthly sort of pantry stock take, it'll also show you if you are overbuying in certain areas. You might be in a habit of, every time you go to the supermarket, you grab a tin of tomatoes and a tin of chickpeas. Obviously, I'm talking about a single person. But if you do a monthly pantry check, you might think, actually, I'm building up too much of a stock of chickpeas. I don't need to buy chickpeas for a couple of weeks. Just keep on top of it. So the other two areas, sorry, I'm just identifying these monthly sessions which I think are worth it. 1, the junk drawer, wherever your junk drawer is. 2, the pantry. 3, paperwork, coming on to paperwork in a second. And 4, your wardrobe. Like I said, if suddenly your wardrobe is bursting, literally once a month, that's all it is. Make sure everything is hung on its hangers neatly, everything's folded and put away properly, and if there's no room, you haven't been one inning and one outing. Quick little session once a month, that's all. As time goes on, also, don't be afraid to reorganise. If you've done that big kitchen sesh like I suggested, and a couple of months down the line, you find that you keep putting something back on the counter here and it feels a bit cluttery. Maybe it's an ergonomic thing, so that where you keep putting that thing here, maybe the cupboard above, that's where it needs to go. So whatever's in the cupboard above, maybe that's something that needs to go over there. I'm making it sound more complicated than I mean it to. But yeah, just the ergonomics of your kitchen. If you think, I'm getting frustrated because I keep having to go over there for my spices, just have a little reorganisation, but keeping it, minimised and tidy. I think you know what I mean, don't you? The obvious one of, once you've done your big declutter, there are seasonal things which we can store. I'm not massively into storing things. I think if you're storing things, you don't need them. However, the exception is that seasonal stuff. So obviously, the obvious thing is winter clothes in the summer. Yes, get some underbed storage, tuck them away. You might have a box for obviously your Christmas decorations, that sort of thing. That's the point at which you might think, I do need to buy some storage solutions, the underbed stuff, what have you. Things like, and this is what I'm going to come on to when I'm talking about Swedish death cleaning, I need to sort out my tools. So it's really useful. I have a drawer in the kitchen which is kind of day-to-day tools, like a screwdriver, my multi-headed screwdriver. But the vast majority of my tools can actually be stored. I don't need them every day, but I don't want them so far, I wouldn't want them in my attic or loft. I don't have one, I am the attic. I don't want them put so far away that they're a pain in the backside to get to. Just somewhere that's further away than within reach for day-to-day use. Now, I was saying about paperwork, I know it's one that folk really, really dread, and that's why I think it's well worth a monthly check-in with your paperwork. Hopefully what you did when you did your declutter was to actually get rid of extraneous paperwork. Manuals for gizmos you no longer have. Bank statements from 10 years ago. If you're self-employed, if you're doing your own taxes, please check. I think it's 7 years. You need to have 7 years of paperwork. But if you've got bank accounts from 20 years ago, you almost certainly don't need them. Get shredding. But as an ongoing maintenance, I think a once a month check-in. So if you've had the slightly naughty habit, I mean, I get my paperwork sorted. The day some post comes through the door, I try to sort it that day. I certainly sort it on a weekly basis. If you came to my flat at any point, you are not going to see, as I'm sure some of you've got, I'm not telling you off, I'm a bit, almost certainly, a fruit bowl. How many homes have this? A fruit bowl which contains no fruit, but it contains opened documents, either bills, bank statements, reports, whatever it is. You've opened the letter and it gets put into the fruit bowl. I'll file it later. So for now, I'm going to file it in my fruit bowl. That's what we had as a kid growing up, was a fruit bowl with papers in it. The fruit bowl filing system. Anyway, so I've talked about this before actually, in terms of getting it organised, either having one of those expandy A to Z folders. I have that for all my house documents, but you might want to have A4 file folders. And you might find, going back to that kitchen thing, you might find that it's the kitchen where you tend to sit and look at that paperwork, sit at the kitchen table, sit at the island. You come in from work, you've brought the mail in with you, you plonk it down on the surface, you start cooking, and then you open your mail as you're cooking. So it might be worth, in one cupboard in the kitchen or on a shelf in the corner, whatever, it might be worth having your home office, just a little space in the kitchen, if that's where you find yourself doing all those little bits and bobs. But think about having folders, a system. It's all about having these systems, a place for everything for its place, in its place. Folders for, I've identified 6 different folders here. You might need more depending on what goes on in your life. So I've got a folder for house documents, and it's not stuff that you refer to monthly like bills, but longer term documents such as my lease, my insurance documents, and what I had to find for selling, the deeds. So a folder, and that's the kind of folder you won't need to refer to very much, maybe once a year when you're doing your insurance paperwork. A folder for your car documents, again, it's maybe something that only dips into when you're renewing tax, insurance. Sorry, I don't really know about cars, but you'll know for yourself. Another folder that deals with all your bank and savings accounts. I mean, a lot of stuff is online now, isn't it? But we do still probably have occasional bits of paperwork. One folder that is specifically for bills, that's what I use, my A to Z folder. It's just easier. So whether it's water, electricity, gas, anything to do with the household bills gets a folder. And then a separate folder for receipts and guarantees. So like I've got my boiler guarantee, that sort of thing. I mean, obviously you don't necessarily keep receipts for everything, but the big items like your white goods in the kitchen or your boiler, you get the idea. And then finally another folder for instruction manuals, and that can be for anything in the whole home, but a folder just to keep them all tidy and all together, so that it comes back to that thing of the whole reason for decluttering is just to make your life easier, so you're not continually on the hunt for stuff, wasting an hour trying to find the manual for the answer phone because the answer phone's gone on the blip. Answer phone. How long is it since any of us had an answer phone? Anyway, you know what I'm trying to get at is wasting time looking for a manual to fix something that's gone on the blink. Whereas if you've had your declutter and you've reorganised and you've got all of that in a folder, little plastic wallet, whatever it is, I know where that is. That's in the paperwork drawer. Go straight to it, get it out. Job's done. Right, finally. Okay, so I made a note of this, that this is maybe a little challenge for any of you who are overstockers overbuyers. If, for example, when you were doing your bathroom declutter, you found, hang on, I've got 27 bottles of shampoo, 7 of which are half open, or open and half used. A little challenge for those of you who tend to overbuy and overstock, and therefore your cupboards are bursting and they don't really need to be. You could set yourself the challenge of a 0 spend month. 0 spend on anything, but in particular in the kitchen, the bathroom, and all the cleaning departments. So can you go for a whole month just using what's in the pantry? Okay, I'm going to allow fresh vegetables to be bought in your shopping, but that's all. Fresh fruit and veg, nothing else. Can you just eat for a month on what's in your pantry? Can you bathe and keep yourself fresh and gorgeous and beautiful just on what's in the bathroom? I actually bet you can. I'm not an overstocker, and I don't need to buy anything for months for the bathroom. But yeah, give it a go. And with the cleaning products and laundry liquids and all that kind of stuff. So when you were doing that kitchen declutter, when you're putting things back in the cupboards, you might have realised you've got a row that's 6 deep of laundry liquid. Give yourself a month off spending. Put that money into a savings account and have a really great day out, or go and have a blowout meal with the family, whatever it is. So yeah, don't overstock. Yes, we want to have spares, but don't overstock. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up because I've been yapping for ages, and that's getting a little bit scratchy. Look, I hope, if nothing else, I hope that's been useful. I hope it's been motivating. That's the main thing. It comes down to the same thing every time. This is all about just having a smoother life, an easier life, so we spend less time on house stuff and more time with friends, having fun, reading books, whatever it is you want to do with your time that's not dealing with the mess of the house. Yeah, for some folk, it might take you a year to get on top of things. It'll be worth it. Don't give up. It's definitely going to be worth it. Get rid of it. Just get it out of your home, get it out of your life, get it out of your head. And then from that point onwards, just make that promise to yourself that it's going to be one in, one out. There's going to be a place for everything. I am not letting this clutter overtake my life again. I'm going to resist when I'm out. I'm going to resist buying stuff I simply do not need. Remember the mantra, pick it up, hold it. Do I really need it? No, I don't want to clutter up my now beautifully decluttered, gorgeously organised home. And also, just to say, being organised and decluttered, it's not about being a minimalist. It's not about having nothing. It's having it in a way that just lets you live smoothly and easily. So you've still got all your lovely stuff, but you just don't have extraneous stuff that's bogging you down. Right, on that note, I really am going to say cheerio. The next time I see you, I will be doing a little bit of a reorganised declutter of one quite small area of my life, but it includes some sentimental stuff. So it's going to be the perfect one in which to talk about and explore more thoroughly this wonderful, wonderful concept of Swedish death cleaning. So until then, please look after yourselves. You don't need 48 mugs. Get chucking. See you soon, lovelies. Cheerio.